Hello, my name is Joe. I am a data analyst for BOC Home Care, and in this short video, I will be demonstrating how you can use the BOC Home Oxygen Portal to electronically submit hoofs for both new and existing patients. You will want to begin by navigating to the Create Hoof option on the portal menu, but you can also create a hoof for a pre-existing patient via the Patient Dashboard and clicking on the Create Hoof button on their page. Creating a hoof involves 6 steps and closely mirrors the required information on a regular paper hoof. If at any point you wish to go back to a previous step to make corrections, you can click the back button to return to the previous page. Please note as you go along that all fields marked with a red asterisk button above them are mandatory. Step 1 involves patient details such as name, address and NHS number, which we'll enter now. If you have already submitted a hoof for a patient that you're prescribing for, entering their NHS number will allow you to auto-populate the rest of the form with their previous details. Otherwise, you'll want to complete this part in full and click Save and Proceed. Carer details on the right here, you can fill in if the patient has, say, a relative or a carer who looks after them frequently, who should be our point of contact if the patient themselves is not suitable. Steps 2 and 3 involve the patient's medical condition, their GP, and if applicable, their hospital or assessment service. We'll go through these now. Clinical code firstly will be the most appropriate code for the patient's condition. In this case, I will use palliative care as an example. If the patient is on non-invasive ventilation or CPAP, you will want to click yes this particular button here, otherwise you can click no. If the patient is quite young, then you'll more than likely want to pick pediatric order, especially if they are a baby or an infant. Please note that this will influence the flow rates that you'll be able to select later. If you pick pediatric order, you will also be required to provide a start flow rate as well. In this instance, we will pick no. For the patient's registered GP information, you will want to put in the postcode of the practice they are registered with. Once found, once the GP postcode has been found, you'll be able to click here to select the GP practice. If the patient is being discharged from an assessment service or a hospital or clinical service, you will want to fill in their details here. If the patient is at a hospital, you'll also want to provide their ward details here as well. In both these cases, we will leave them blank. Once you reach step 4, you can now select what equipment the patient requires. Firstly, you'll need to tell the portal if you want a static or variable flow rate and static or variable hours per day. In this instance, we will pick standard and standard. Once you've decided on your flow and hours for categories, the drop-down menu here will appear. This will allow you to select the modality you wish to prescribe for the patient. In this case, we will select static concentrator. At this point, you will want to select the quantity required. You'll also want to select the litres per minute. In this case, we will prescribe this patient 1 litre a minute. And you'll want to select their hours per day. In this case, we will provide them with 16. If in the event that you have picked a flow rate that allows a mask to be prescribed, the mask option will appear here also. If you have picked variable flow rate or variable hours, additional fields will appear as well that will allow you to select that. In the event that you've picked a portable concentrator or a portable modality that supports it, you will also be able to select if the patient requires a conserving device. Once you've completed the modality you want to prescribe, you just simply need to click Add to Order. You can repeat this for as many modalities as the patient requires. If you do need to start your order fresh though, you can click Reset and Clear Basket here to remove all of the items and start from the beginning. Please note that depending on your professional role, you may have access to either a Part A or a Part B version of the hoof. Part A does not allow prescription of anything but a static concentrator or static cylinders, while Part B allows any modality to be selected. You can also specify in step 4 if you want the patient to have humidification or a tracheostomy suitable mask, and also the prescription's delivery time frame, as well as if a secondary supply is needed and contact details and additional information. In this instance, we will certify the patient does not require humidification, nor do they require a mask, and we will select 3 business days for their delivery. As this patient in our example is not going on holiday, we will leave this section blank. For contact details, this will be clinical contacts other than yourself who we can get in touch with if we need to query anything about the hoof. The additional information box here can be used for clinical details that the hoof otherwise does not have room to fit on, such as, for example, if the patient requires a certain selection of masks, or if they require long tubing. Anything that you feel is clinically relevant that's otherwise not covered by the previous fields should be entered here. If you require a longer section of additional information, you can click Yes this button, and it will provide you with additional space to write more information relevant to the patient. Please note that any prescription-related information entered here will not be actioned. It must be entered into the additional patient information box above or otherwise covered by the hoof on the flow rate, the modality, or the delivery method required. But in this box, for example, you may wish to write information such as the primary point of contact, if the patient lives in a certain house, or if there are any conditions that we need to be aware of with regards to the environment they live in, their welfare, their safeguarding, etc. In this case, we will leave this blank and we will click Save and Proceed. Once done, step 5 will allow you to review the hoof before submitting it. At the bottom, you will want to click both tick boxes to confirm that you have completed the Home Oxygen Consent Form and the initial Home Oxygen Risk Mitigation Form. You can also specify a different email address or fax number for fax backs and confirmations and corrections to be sent to. You can also CC the notification as well to a different address. Once you're done, you'll then want to click Create Hoof to submit it. At this point, BOC's patient administration team will review the hoof and will then process it before it is passed to our patient service advisors to make contacts and arrange delivery. You will receive email notifications as the hoof is processed to tell you its progress. The hoof will also be available for download as a .pdf or .doc file if you need a copy for System 1 or a similar program, and can also be retrieved from the hoof archive. For now, that concludes how to complete a hoof. Thank you very much for listening, and if you have any feedback or comments on the Home Oxygen Portal, please do not hesitate to send them to boc.hop@nhs.net. Thank you very much for your time.